Hey kids, it's Old Man Shouting at Clouds, and now with others too. Chatting about the CFL is what they're going to do. Some have no contacts and others have no clues. Everyone will tell us all their quirky football views. Hear what Old Man and others know. It's the CFL Outsiders show.
Hey, GT. What are we going to do this week?
Same thing we do every week, old man. Take over the CFL.
Hey, kids. Welcome back to another episode of the CFL Outsiders. I remain, as always, your 100% impartial, completely unbiased, and almost recovered host, Old Man Shouting at Clouds. Joining me on the panel this week, as usual, is GT.
Hey, everyone. Welcome back. It's Tuesday. I get to wear red this week. I'm a happy guy. What could I say?
Well earned. And MJ.
Hey, everyone. Where I am, we have a trifecta of rain, mosquitoes, and smoke, so it is perfect to sit inside and watch football.
Nice.
Exactly, yeah. And luckily, there's no game there this weekend because they're coming out to Kelowna. I thought maybe I'd jump in just a little bit about that Apple Bowl experience since I was there, and when I said almost recovered, you'd be forgiven for thinking I'm talking about the Riders' loss, but no, I've been fairly diligent about getting out and doing hiking with both the knees replaced now and whatnot, and I thought I was in reasonable shape. A full day of hiking from the parking to the stadium on my feet, a big chunk of the day and back, it destroyed me. I got home and sat back in the recliner, and my quads were literally spasming. So this week will be better. But I thought I'd just real quick maybe run through for the folks what it was like there, because it was a sort of a new experience. I'm going to do something we used to do back in business, where we looked at things we said from the good, the bad, and the interesting with it. And there was bits of both. So probably the worst part of it, the only two things that took away from my experience at all was the fact the PA was not capable of overcoming the crowd noise. It's built for a small stadium, so I hope they put a better PA in, because I had to literally watch the game on TV the next day to figure out what a bunch of the penalties were and whatnot. Had no idea. And then the other one, which I know they won't be able to fix by this weekend, is the seating. I'm told they brought in seating from the F1 events. They rented that out, and I have a feeling F1 fans must be a little bit slimmer than football fans, because they literally, when you looked at the space they had designated on the seats, it was about maybe 15, 16 inches per seat. So I was on the end of one row. I wasn't alone in this. I was on the end of one row, and there was maybe 3 inches of seat left. I just sat on the stairs. And
wow.
They came and told me you can't do that. And I pointed at my seat and said, "There's what I paid for. What are we going to?" So they walked away. But I wasn't the only one. There were a lot of people talking about the fact that the better part of their posterior was hanging off the end if you were on the outside seats. But those were really the only two things that were, to me anyway, a significant sort of enough to bother me about the game. They had other things with it. The food service was really slow, and I think what it was they didn't have enough cooking surface there. It seemed like they couldn't keep up with it. I didn't get a chance. This was my bad. I thought, we know what we're doing. It was me and my two sons that went and saw this one. So we headed in, we thought, in lots of time, and the traffic was much worse than we expected and everything else. So by the time I got there, I had the choice of either lining up and getting merchandise and going to the food trucks and everything, or watching a football game. So we'll do better on that this week. We're going to go in a lot earlier. But yeah, the food service was slow because, or at least at the main food tents. And apparently they ran out of beer and other stuff about halftime. So people were complaining about that. But I tell you, the game was, okay, but the atmosphere was great. The crowd, just fantastic people, ended up talking to dozens and dozens of people there, everybody in a good mood, everybody enjoying themselves. My son made the comment, they keep telling us how divided this country is, but you go to an event like this and everybody's just happy and having a good time. The other thing, we got basically pretty damn good weather. They were talking about it raining all day. We got a couple of sprinkles off and on through the game, but that was about it. And then the last bit, which is what I find the interesting part, is there's been, I don't know if it's showing up. I've seen a little bit of it on Blue Sky and some of the other social media, but Reddit especially, there's a lot of people saying, why doesn't Kelowna have a team? Why aren't they one of the cities that they're talking about with, because it works so well? And I think that there might be a market there. It's questionable. There's not a lot of market for the junior and high school here, but there's enough CFL fans that have moved here from other areas that might work. And then there's also a lot of people saying, well, why don't they just go up and do 3 games in Kelowna every year out of their schedule? And I don't think that would work either. But I'm guessing you guys saw the game on TV and some of the hype. What was your external impression?
Well, it looked terrific. It looked like the stadium was set up really nicely. It looks like they did a good job in making it work with 18,000 portable seats, which is pretty impressive. It was kind of cute to see the little booth that they normally have, the little white area that said, the Okanagan Sun or something on the back of it. And that was that's what the real stands look like.
Yeah.
And so it was, I thought it was really well done. I was pretty amazed by the commentary of the broadcasters, particularly Rod Smith, kind of blew me away. It sounded like he'd never been to Kelowna. It sounded like he'd never been to the interior. And I was like,
it's wine country.
Yeah. Well, that's a different thing. That's Glenn Suter being Glenn Suter.
They were funny.
But I was shocked. This is not disrespectful, but maybe I'm more traveled than most people. But I'm shocked at how many people don't seem to know our country and don't seem to know the geography of our country and don't seem to know that Kelowna is in the middle of a beautiful place. Yeah. Like, how can you not know that? Like, to me, that's as obvious as saying Calgary's next to Banff, as Toronto is by Niagara Falls. It's like obvious. I can't. Yes. And yet these very well-known, very well-educated, very high-profile people on the broadcast, it just seemed to have never considered this part of the country as a place to go, a thing to do. I'm constantly amazed at how many people in our country don't travel our country and get to see the extent of how beautiful this country is and how many places there are to go and revel in how great this country is. It just constantly amazes me.
Well, it's cheaper to go to Mexico than it is for me to go to Ontario.
Sure, yeah, I appreciate that.
So, I mean, it is hard. It is hard. And those guys probably travel, like they're constantly traveling. Probably the last thing they want to do once the CFL season's over is travel to more, like go to more Canadian airports. They're just probably like, I'm out. But it was like the ultimate Kelowna hype, though, because it was like they were just genuinely so excited to be there.
Yes.
Yeah, and as I said, it looked terrific. Obviously, the Lions and the league did a great job of setting it up. Hopefully, the weather holds again this weekend for another beautiful day, because that certainly helped. If it had been pouring rain, it might not have looked so great. But the fact that it was a beautiful day certainly helped. So
I was expecting worse camera angles. It was seamless. It looked perfect. It was great. Yep. And it was kind of funny. This is my own thing. Every once in a while, I could see this dark in the back and I'm like, ooh, is it clouding up? Looks like it's clouding up. Is it going to start raining in Kelowna? And then they pan back. No, it's just a mountain.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, no, I've been on the prairies too long.
Yes.
It happened to me more than once. I thought that to myself.
Well, when I watched chunks of it the next day on TV to figure out, like I said, the parts I missed from the announcer, I was really quite impressed with the drone shots they had for some of their coming in and out of commercials and that. They did a good job of this is a beautiful area, I'll say that, but they made it look about as good as you can. And locals will probably complain because we don't like that information getting out there.
I thought they did a better job of presenting the game than they do for most games. Like, it was like the league itself and the broadcast itself did as you say, with that drone and stuff. They don't do that in Regina. They don't do that in Toronto and show the beautiful skyline behind the city with all the lights on in an evening game. They don't do any of that stuff. They show a little bit in Montreal with the mountain there, but that's about it. They did a great job. It really was. It was well done. Full credit to the league and the broadcaster for making it look terrific.
Yeah. Yes. And then the field looked great. And then I don't usually like the Straight Fire segment, but what I liked about Straight Fire that game was that they had the kids that were
Yes.
on the Straight Fire there with them, and that was what a moment for those kids.
Yeah,
That was
from
amazing. I
OKM,
loved
yeah.
it. Yeah.
That was very nice. And I got to say, full credit to TSN for the amount they're spending on sending the panel out to these games this year. You know, it used to be Labor Day and maybe if there was some other big event or something. They've been on the road a lot so far this year, almost every week.
They took Stampede Bowl actually a lot more seriously than I thought they were going to last year. I thought they were going to be like, whatever, and treat it. But no, they did a big deal. And this is kind of felt like how they're doing Kelowna is how they did Stampede Bowl last year. And I'm just wondering if maybe this week it'll be toned down quite a bit more for the next Kelowna game.
Yes.
But it showcased really well. It showcased so well.
They did a great job.
And you know what? When there's a CFL team there, you won't have to worry about the seats because there'll be permanent seating there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Well, not in my lifetime, I don't think. But
yeah, no, feed that fire, keep it going, but it ain't ever going to happen.
Just stoke those rumors. Just stoke them.
Hey, I'm already calling them the Okanagan Phoenix, so you know.
Yeah.
But we can talk more about the actual game itself when we get there. Let's move on. A couple other quick things. Some comments. We had a few comments this week in a few different places on YouTube and social media and whatnot. A few of them about our title last week being not safe for work. I knew as soon as MJ said the line that it had to be the title.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Yes. But we also had, and I had to do this one just to give myself a pat on the back. It's kind of surprising my head still fits in this screen because we had one on actually the Stampeders forum on Reddit. I'm terrible with names and usernames. I'm going to go with Miserlou Pagnini, who said about my old man plays weekly fantasy show. Said, old man's voice alone could probably carry a whole show about a plant growing. So this is just icing on the cake. Don't be feeding the ego like that. It's dangerous. We also had nobody guessed any of our lyrical eloquence last week.
Oh, I thought I saw someone guess correctly.
Oh, did I miss it then? I'm sorry.
Yes, I did.
Was that on the YouTube? Let me pop over there and see. So let me just see if I've missed something here with that.
My kid got one, but he obviously doesn't have social media. And you know which one he got.
I have a question about that, though. Well, I had 2 last week, and because MJ has been so stressed about this segment, and she admitted it last week, I threw her a complete softball and wondered and she indicated she got it and hit it out of the park, but she never said she did. So she still hasn't come through with it if she got it right or not. So the question is, what song did you hear? What lyric did you hear?
Saw some old friends from down in T.O. Old Queen Lizzie, send it back home. They look so sad at the end of the night. Yes, Tie Cats are humming. Arkell's.
Correct. Good. Well, I as I said, it was pretty much a softball. If you hadn't got that, yeah, that would have been it. You would have been, it would have been Old Man and Me on the show. That's it.
As a sidebar, we took our son to an Arkell's concert. It's the first time to see the Arkells. He's first time he's seen him. And afterwards, he's like, they didn't play my favorite song. And I was like, oh, what's your favorite Arkell song? He's like, Tie Cats are humming. And I was like, well, the Tie Cats own that song. I don't think they're allowed to sing it at their concert.
That's true. But because that was a softball just for you, I did include something. I'm just being mean. You know that, right?
Hey, if you want to put Arkells and Tie Cats lyrics in, that is fine by me.
I did include another one. And I believe, old man, there was a comment that got it right.
You're right. I found it. Atom, ATOM, Kangle 10 commented, GT saying Eminem without me.
Ooh.
Correct.
Also, it sounds like GT watching the Stampeders game sounds like you both had Dickinson experiences.
Yeah, both Dickinson experiences. Yes.
Oh boy.
And also he says he was at the Elks game with you, MJ, and I'm having trouble seeing the full comment. Something else after that, but
Just
Okay,
washed
anyway,
away.
so Adam Gangle, congratulations. You got that right, did he, GT?
Yes, he did. That was a little, not out of the ordinary, but I thought a little tougher. So we'll see how this week's goes.
Yeah. Okay, and mine did not get any. I went with Sheryl Crow. I was mean to GT, and he said something nice to me, and I used it as a lead in to say, you don't bring me anything but down, which is, of course, from Sheryl Crow, anything but down. So we didn't get it. And I apologize, GT. I shouldn't take advantage of you like that because, you're my best friend.
Yeah, okay. I'll believe that when I see it.
Okay. Anything else with around those that we need to talk about? You didn't slip any in again, MJ?
Yes, I did. I said the Ticats are humming. I said
okay,
that.
you did that. Okay, yeah.
What's the name?
Okay, so every week
It's also in the song.
MJ's going to say, Ticats are humming. That's it. That's me. I'm done.
There we go.
I did it.
Makes for easier guessing every week.
And no one got it. So shame on all of you except for my kid. We had some really nice comments this week on Instagram regarding like the Edmonton stuff, Edmonton referees, and the Prairie Blizzard uniforms were quite the little talking point. And then our segment about Jake Mayer.
We also had a couple of negative comments about when we were talking about the whole stuff around the Elks name and the residential school issues and that were came out from people who were obviously of the bent that they have no time for social issues or
don't watch our show.
Yeah, it's up to them. But I don't even respond to those because that's not what we're here about. If you're going to take that as the one takeaway from the show, I'm sorry, but no, I'm glad. Thank you, everybody else.
I only want a quick rebuttal because I only want to say to our listeners, all opinions are valued. It doesn't mean we agree with your opinion.
No, residential school denial is not a valid opinion.
No, it depends. I don't know. I do not know what
that
the
is what the
was.
comment was. That is what the comment was.
Then
so
that is
not valid.
That's just that's not.
That's
valid.
why I'm upset. That's why I'm upset.
That's not. It's not. It's just wrong. Sorry, that's just wrong. So I agree with you there. But all opinions are valued.
No, you want to argue football with us? Great, but there's certain things that are not defensible.
There was one that was a denialism, that MJ's right on, and the other one was just all caps, liberal, and then exclamation mark.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a fairly liberal attitude. I don't mind admitting that.
Yeah, thanks for the compliment.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Yeah, you picked up on that, did you? That it's somewhat of a liberal attitude on the show here. Not big L, small L, Anyway, moving on to some other quick news items. The BC Lions fired a coordinator this week. And there was much joy, but not really because it was the wrong one. They released their special teams coordinator.
I don't know, because the players were running into each other on special teams, so that did need to happen, but that was not the top tier firing that needed to happen.
Yeah, well, it's safe to say it's time to open fire. He's out the pasture. Safe to say it's time to open fire. So
Yes. There were a lot of comments about hopefully they're just warming up with this one.
What's their coach's cap situation for?
No
that's
idea.
Buck there, though. So I don't know.
No, they should be at at the point where if they've had anything historical, it should be going away. But I don't know how long Campbell had left when they cut him out. But anyway, anything more to say about that? No, I don't think so.
Well, I guess we could talk about it in the game, or we can talk about it now. But I mean, it was a terrible special teams performance from beginning to end in that game for BC, and they haven't been great throughout this year, certainly, and even into last year they were not tremendous. So I'm, in some ways, I'm not surprised. Again, I'm surprised he was the first to go, but I'm not surprised. They're in a bit of a free fall. It's not the end.
Yeah, it's like you said. We'll talk more, but just sort of summary. 2 bad mistakes on returns and 2 punts shanked badly. I can see where he's gone or why he's gone. What else here? Oh, MJ, you said you had something you wanted to talk about, changes with the officials down south in the NFL and AFL.
Well, in the NFL and the UFL.
Oh, UFL.
So
right.
so So there's a new collective bargaining agreement between the NFL and the referees. I'm not sure if it's ratified yet or they're still negotiating, but anyways. So what they want to do, this is interesting. They want to send down poor performing referees from the NFL down to the UFL for extra training. And I guess in 2025, they had 4 referees that they sent down to the UFL for further development because they were not performing adequately. And they also want to have a practice squad at each game of 12 officials to travel with crews to substitute in for injured or underperforming referees and rotate people in for development. So, and then in the UFL, good luck referees, because have you seen these clips in the UFL? They do in-game interviews with the referees. They're like, what was your reasoning behind that call? And they just like stick the microphone in them and the referee answers and they're like, okay, next play. Okay, let's go. So I was like, in-game interviews of referees being relegated, like taxi squads of referees. So I'm like, okay, so sometimes when things happen down there, they tend to happen up here. I don't think the CFL is ever going to carry a 12 referee taxi squad, but it makes me wonder if they're going to start relegating or moving up and moving some pieces around if there's more attention on the game internationally.
Well, we've had CFL and the NFL have had a referee, an officials agreement for quite a while, where there's been officials going back and forth and actually officiating in each league. So CFL guys go down there and officiate in pregame, and NFL guys come up here and officiate in pregames or in preseason. I mean, so that wouldn't be new. I can see them doing it. I'm a little surprised. Well, no, I mean, because there's been a lot of issues from what I've heard and read about NFL officiating over the last few years. So I'm not that surprised that they're trying to do something to improve it. But relegating them down, that doesn't sound a lot. And to me, if I'm a UFL fan, so what? I'm getting the dregs? Like, it's bad enough I'm not getting the players, the best players. We kind of accept that because we know. But now you're flat out telling me that our referees are like cast-offs and not good enough and are down here to, like, that's just like, man, how do you maintain the integrity of the game without flat out saying, yeah, we're a development league, get over it. That's all we are. So it doesn't help them set themselves apart at all. And again, from a UFL point of view, I don't think it does you any good at all to get that tied to the NFL, unless you simply, that's all you want to be. But if you want to be a standalone professional football league, I don't think you can do that. And I think that's a huge mistake on their behalf for the integrity of their league as such. So I'm a little surprised that they've done it that way. But again, maybe that's just the power of the NFL. And if you want to play, you got to pay type of idea.
Yeah. Or maybe there's some NFL money coming with it too. Who knows?
Yeah.
It's an interesting sort of thing. I'm assuming what they're saying with this taxi squad is that if you get an official on one of the groups that has a bad weekend and underperforms in his game, the next week he'll be bumped back to the taxi squad or the UFL or whatever, and somebody else will take his spot on that team. I hope it's not something where they're actually going to be in the middle of the game saying, oh no, we're changing an official.
Yes, they are.
Because
they want to rotate people in during the game. I don't think head referee, but maybe line judges or back judges, they might be like, okay, well, you're never going to get experience. This is like how backup quarterbacks. You're never going to get playing time experience if you're not in. So, okay, back judge, you're in for these 3 plays, and then we'll like. So I'm not sure how it's going to work, but they did say that they're going to be subbing in for developmental.
There's no consistency in penalty calling. Everybody says what you want out of a referee or whatever official the game is called by is consistency. And if you're moving guys around by literally quarter by quarter or play by play, there goes your consistency. And yikes, that is
so
wild.
We'll see if it gets ratified. Wild. That's why I wanted to talk about it, because I was like, this is actually very, this is huge, really.
I couldn't see that ever happening in the CFL. I mean, we don't have enough officials as it is. They're constantly harping on the fact that there's not enough officials coming through the system. Yeah. And to then go put even, another 6 guys if you wanted to cut it in half from 12 to 6 or even 2 or 3. They don't have that many officials to hang around.
Can you imagine being like, can you tell us why you called that pass interference?
That doesn't help with the officiating too much.
You know what? I watched an interview with a UFL referee, and he was very straight to the point. This is why I did it, and this is the reasoning, and this is how I see it. That's how I call it. And I was like, I appreciated that.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Great.
I think you can give a little too much access, though. Again, if you're going to make a ref available after the game to discuss stuff, that might be worthwhile, but in-game or halftime, I don't know. And again, also this bit of they're going to rotate people in for experience, I don't like it, but that's still a little bit better than the impression I got that there's somebody in the command center who's going to be sitting there saying, oh, no, the side judge is having a terrible game. Get him out of there and put a replacement in.
Yeah.
I hope that's
I was like, these
happen.
refs are going to be under, like, can you imagine a taxi squad of guys or like people just standing there waiting?
Yeah.
And you're like,
hey,
the stress
where the
of getting
players
that.
are at.
They're not getting paid what players are getting paid.
No, they're not, although they get more than CFL refs. But
they're not getting, like, people standing behind your shoulders pay. That's different.
Yes. Well, it'll be interesting to see where it goes. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. That was completely off my radar. We've also sort of been following the attendance this year with the CFL, the gate attendance. I don't want to waste a lot of time on this, but since we've been doing it, I figured I'd run through them again. It looked like it was a better week. They were back up to 23,400 something was the average. And it went from 32 and change in Winnipeg down to 17 and change in Montreal. And in between, Saskatchewan had 25. And the Apple Bowl sold out at 19,000.
No, that was not Saskatchewan. That was a Toronto Argos home game. Argos had 25,000 people.
Right. So,
No, the Argos had 25,000 people at their game.
Yes, they did.
Good job, Argos.
The Argos have a very good home games in Saskatchewan. Unfortunately, they played like it was a home game too, damn it. But anyway. But yeah, and then
it's hard to win on the road. It's hard to win on the road.
The sold out Apple Bowl, yes. I'll tell you, it was something else, including they had to have 200 or 300 people there in standing room only. Just standing in a pack of people to watch the game. And it was great because they were right at the sidelines, but 6 or 7 deep. I don't know that I'd want to do that for a game. So it went over well. Moving along, getting stuff. Oh, I'm just going to mention this. If either of you want to say anything, feel free, but I don't think we have to. We talked last week about the whole Brandon Sorsby banned from the college ball for gambling stuff, and people saying, well, he'll go to the CFL for his year. He won't, because the CFL has officially said no, he cannot play in the CFL because of his history of gambling. So good on them. And
they said that no team can even add them to their negotiation list, which I thought was the more interesting part of it. Was like, not only can you not sign right now, you can't even be put on a list. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
And yes, it was. And it was a good optics thing, but frankly, it was easy to do because he was never coming up here anyways.
Exactly. 100%. Yeah.
Not costing yourself anything to take that stand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of stuff sort of along those lines, the bad behavior, going on to the transactions. We didn't have a lot this week, although Lewis Ward was released from the Alouettes again. So I guess Maltos is healed. And then probably the big news just dropped this afternoon. The CFL, or bigger news anyway, CFL came out and said that Joe, who'd been released by Saskatchewan for his conduct in the post-Grey Cup parties and sexual harassment, and I think they said unwanted attention and things like that. He's now, I guess, completed his counseling and his meetings and has been reinstated. And then literally, I think just before airtime, from what MJ said, it came out that he's signed with the Stamps now. But he will still have to serve his 6-game suspension that the league put on him. So they could have him back by past midseason, I guess, week 10. Any thoughts on that?
I thought it was weird, to be honest with you. I just thought it was a weird signing in that the first thing it says to me is that the Stampeders are not expecting Reggie Begelton back at all. I mean, he's done for the year, and he may be done, in fact, for the career. That's the gut feeling I'm now having about Reggie, unfortunately. And it's horrible to see that great a player have to leave after an injury ends his career rather than any other way. But back to Joe. So I think that the Stampeders are signing, like, that's the reason I think they signed another receiver, is because they have a receiver hole. But he's got a 6-game suspension, as you mentioned, which means it'll be game 10 before he can even get into the practice field, which means it's game 12 or so before you get a chance to be on the field. By that time, they could have Damian Alford back from the NFL. It's like, I don't know. That's what is weird to me, is like, if you had nobody else at all, like if you had no hope, but you've got Clark Barnes, you've got, Philpott, you've got Brissett, you might have Damian Alford, and then why do you need a Joe after all the baggage? That's the strange part to me, is like, I just don't, not that, the fact that they signed him is not good. I get it. But the weird part is, why did they sign him? That's what I don't understand. So yeah, anyways, that's my comments on it.
Didn't make a lot of sense. I'm just glad that O'Day said when it happened that he won't be playing for the Riders again. That's my own personal opinion. And apparently they didn't want him, or there was no sniff when he got reinstated. So anything, MJ, or can I? Okay.
It's bad vibes. It's bad. It's a bad look. It's a bad look. I hope he has learned lessons and is working on being a better human.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, everybody should get a second chance. And if if it is a learning experience, if he comes back as a much better person, then great. So we'll see. But let's move on to MJ's favorite segment, our World Cup report, which this week is most of us don't care.
Canada won!
No. Most of us don't care. But there is actually a second part to this week's World Cup report beyond that. And that is that maybe we have a chance here to trade whatever Stuart Johnson over to FIFA, because he's willing to turn the rule book into toss salad to get more scoring. And Lord knows if there's a game that needs more scoring, it's soccer.
Well, they scored 6 goals in one game, didn't they?
Yeah, in one game, which is usually the output for 8 games.
It's about the setup.
Okay, MJ, you're allowed one cheer for the Canada win over South Africa.
No, you don't understand. This is really big fans, in case you live under a rock. This is Canada made history. This is the first time ever that they have been to the rounds of 16. So this is very big, very awesome. They are playing Morocco on Sunday.
I think history is a strong word to use in this case, but it is a significant win that they've achieved to go on to the next round, I will say.
And a Canadian team did well. So I will celebrate just like I celebrate when the doubles badminton team makes it to a semifinal in some world tournament.
Yeah.
I'll be watching soccer on Sunday.
I'm awfully cocky for somebody who got his butt handed to him in the fantasy league this week, by the way. I had 114.5 points, which I thought most of my players I thought did well. Tommy Neal let me down a little bit. Well, actually, he didn't. The Bombers did by only targeting him like 3 times. I thought he'd get more. However, I was up against Travis Curra from 2 and Out, and it wouldn't have mattered how well Neal had done because Travis had Tyson Philpott and Hammond from Toronto on his team. So he beat me by almost 30 points, 146 something. I'm now 1-3 and looking for answers this week. MJ, you had a better week.
Well, I want to, before MJ jumps and talks about her astounding week at fantasy football, I'm just going to say, I think karma has just come out and bit you on the behind there, old man, as immediately after that soccer rant and downplaying how important that was to our fair country, your video has since disappeared again, like last week. You have now been sent off with a yellow card.
Relegated.
You have got a yellow card and been sent to the sideline, and that's it. And maybe if you don't get a red card, we'll allow you to come back in at some point during this broadcast. However, at this point in time, yes, you have been yellow carded. One more and you're done, pal. One more. That's it.
Well,
I think that's it.
I like this. I like this. Karma is my boyfriend.
See, you think I didn't know about that game, right? I know about that game. In the meantime, MJ, how did you do at fantasy this week?
I was up against Greg from Piffles, and I beat him.
Yay! Good for you.
Yay! So I actually had not a great week at fantasy. I was actually pretty worried. So, because I had Brissett as my flex, and he had 0 catch.
Yeah.
So I got 0 points with Brissett. What did I have? I had the Stamps defense, so yay me.
Right.
And I wrote, carrying on with Alexander and Philpott. And I wish I had made Philpott my captain. I'm still too stressed to make a non-quarterback a captain, just in case. I don't know. And then I cheaped out on my running backs this time because I thought, but I picked Scott and Conley, and so they did okay. And then I had Schaefer Baker and Brissett with 0. But I still managed to, I am sitting second in the podcast league. I'm 3-1, managed to beat Greg. So things aren't so bad.
Well done.
Yeah, so
and I'm still not playing.
Perfect.
Yeah,
My husband beat me at fantasy, though. So, I mean, the quest continues for dominancy and fantasy.
Yes. Greg on Sports in the organizing part that I see, but you don't, made a point of coming out saying he felt like he should be in line for the Red Blacks GM position because he started Lewis without bothering to see if he was actually on the game day roster.
Well, I had Thies, and then I was like, then I looked at the last second depth chart, and I was like, oh, Scott? And then I had Bertrand Houdon, and then I was like, oh, I better check the depth chart, and it wasn't. It was Conley, so I'm glad
Yeah. I was happy with Conley. I went with him, too. I thought they'd get more put Bertrand Houdon in a little bit more. Tommy the Train. Yeah. I was happy with my team. I just ran into a roller coaster there. So you've got, though, you're number 2 in the league at this point, and you're up against number 1 this week, are you not?
Yeah, I am. So, no, I'm playing Ryan, I think, from the horse. I think I'm playing Ryan.
Oh, are you? I thought you had KD Commish.
Oh, I hope not.
We'll have to look at that.
Don't
anyway, we'll sort it out and talk about it next week.
I do best when I do this last minute with my kid hovering over my shoulder and giving me like suggestions that may or may not be helpful. So
well, my week isn't going to get any easier because I've got Safamod from the Piffles podcast and somebody else who's usually very good. Got to start clawing my way up. Anyone cares? I'll be putting out Old Man Plays CFL Weekly Fantasy on Thursday, 3 or 4 hours before the game, and we'll see what we're doing this week.
You can think of me doing it last minute with a kid hovering over top of me. That's how.
Hey, mine is basically the same. Instead, I have a dog instead of a kid. What you doing, Papa? What you doing? All right. So let's go on to what actually happened in the games this week. We had 4 of them. And I got to say, after Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday night football, I hit Monday night and I was kind of, where's the football? I was enjoying getting back to this one game a day. Yes.
It was great.
And we started out with Edmonton going into Winnipeg and winning 23-18. And I'll just say a couple of things before we let you guys hop in on anything that you may want to add. I was really impressed with the play calling on Edmonton's part with Massima. He had a balanced game. He had Winnipeg confused. They didn't know what was going on. They discovered something with Rankin off their right side, Winnipeg's defense's left side there. I like the fact it was a well-played game. There weren't a lot of penalties in it at all again, which is nice to see. We're getting more in that. There was only one team over 100 yards in penalties out of the 4 games this week, so that's nice to have. And the last sort of generic comment I had is Brady, they got 13 carries for 77 yards, and I don't remember exactly. I think it was like 5 or 6 catches for another 40 yards. But it didn't feel to me like he was really used. I don't know what it was. It didn't feel like he had an impact in that game to me.
Maybe it's because he had that terrible fumble and he wasn't to be trusted the rest of the game.
Maybe.
Well,
or it's just Tommy Condell.
Yeah, or it's just Tommy Condell. I don't know. After the first half, I said, is it Thanksgiving? Because there's an awful lot of butterballs out here, man. There's just flying everywhere. Turkeys are flying.
Running?
It was ridiculous. It was just, guys, it was crazy. But it turned into a better game than I thought because it started out so sloppy and so ridiculous. But it was, again, one of those games that felt more exciting than the score indicated and felt more exciting than the game really indicated. I thought Edmonton played very well. I really think that I thought their defensive line played really well. I thought, they called a good game. I thought Winnipeg played okay, and they did get Brady going. I thought he was more consistent and didn't break the big one, but had some really nice runs. Rankin had the big one again, and that's that makes all the difference. But again, I thought it was kind of disappeared as you keep saying, old man, he goes through those periods where he just disappears, and I thought he did that in the second half, pretty much. But and Winnipeg made a lot of adjustments, and I thought played much better in the second half. But yeah, Edmonton's full credit. And when we get to power rankings, we'll talk about it. But yeah, they're winning. They're 3-0. Full credit.
Yes, and the one thing I will say that though, to me the difference between Rankin and well, not just Rankin, but Rankin and the Elks O-line as opposed to Brady and the Winnipeg O-line. If Winnipeg does get a lead in a game, it looks like they can still depend on running that game out and getting 4 to 5 yards a run. Whereas with Edmonton in that run out the game situation, they're constantly getting stopped for no yards or a loss of yards. So they need to either sort that out or start using a different running back in those late game situations. They've got Isaiah Knight, who's out of UBC. It looked really good in the preseason as more of a power back. Maybe you use him when it comes time to get the hard yards.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that hit on Brady that caused that fumble in the beginning, in the first part of the game, that was crushing. I mean, he fumbled the ball, but man, no wonder. I mean, he got that was smacked. That was smacked. That was an incredible hit to start the weekend off. And there were some good ones over pretty much every game. There was one of those, but that was a very good one to start the weekend.
Well, is that the one? Because that was the play where Brady fumbled it and Mogensen recovers it.
Exactly.
Throws it up, runs it up, and then lateral passes it to Tyrell Ford. And then Tyrell just turns the Jets on and almost scores a touchdown. I was like, oh, here we go. Look at this. So nice. That was beautiful. Yeah, beautiful play.
It didn't help. It didn't help that for Winnipeg that Pokey Wilson got hurt on that play.
Yeah, he saved the touchdown, but at what cost?
Exactly.
At what cost?
Yes, and they shot it to the 3-yard line, and I know they're doing well, but they didn't score on that one. They didn't leave points on the board.
That was they did that more than once. It was actually quite infuriating. I was like, oh, so Winnipeg's defense is bend but don't break at the 3-yard line. This is how the game is going to go? It was so strange. They could not punch a goal line in to save their lives. It was they should have been up on Winnipeg a lot more than they were.
Yeah,
that score should have been much higher before the half.
Yeah, which goes back to my comment that I made earlier. They're winning, but exactly.
Yeah.
Like at one point, Winnipeg had 5 fumbles. Not all of them were a turnover. They fumbled the ball 5 times. We were up by 1 point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what is that? I was like, this doesn't even make sense. This game's so weird.
Yeah. Edmonton is sort of reminding me of Calgary last year. You know, Calgary did the same. No one really expected them to be like this, and then they won all those games early in the season. Now, I'm not saying that Edmonton's going to level off like Calgary did last year, but at this point in time, I'm not fully confident. I'm not fully confident that this is a reality for them yet.
They also had a touchdown, or should have had a touchdown, where Lothar caught it in the end zone, but was bobbling it a bit and ended up knocked back out of the end zone before he got it, and it was a turnover on downs because it was 3rd down.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they definitely left stuff out there.
Also, I want to know, please help me out. Why were the Bombers playing zone defense at the very end of the game and just like Edmonton just walked right in? I couldn't believe it. They're just like the cushion was so soft on those receivers. It was. If I were I'm an impartial viewer of this game, and I was furious at the Bombers defense. If I was a Bombers fan, I would have been tearing my hair out.
No. I don't know whether they were trying to put pressure on Cody's and therefore they were in soft zone instead. But yeah. If you don't get him under pressure, he will deliver the ball. So. And Edmonton's offensive line seemed to be doing okay. Edmonton's defensive line was very impressive. I thought their defensive line finally showed that they're the money that they're being paid.
They had Zach so flustered. He shovel passed a pass forward. I'm like, whoa, Zach, that's so dangerous. And it's not like him to do that. He is a veteran quarterback. That was actually quite a rookie mistake. I was like, but he just looked so flustered.
And wasn't that one of the first of several intentional grounding?
Yeah,
I think that got called because there was nobody there at all. There was nobody even close. So
I think a lineman ended up picking up a ball. Yeah. It was just flustered all day.
Yes. Not pretty football for parts of it. It was, JT
Oh,
and
if
I
you
were
like defense, it was a great game.
well, it was, but even then, I mean, JT and I were talking about this while we were waiting for you to join us earlier, and saying all the games this weekend had very good parts, but none of them were a good game all the way through. They all had bad plays or bad decisions.
Yeah.
But the
Also,
Elk are 3-0 at the top of the league,
yeah,
only undefeated team.
just like
So
we all
credit where it's
predicted.
due.
Yeah. I just have a question about Winnipeg. I just want to circle back a bit. Do they have a kicking problem, or is this just
Yeah.
a weird off game?
Well, I think it's a
Well,
weird off game.
So
maybe,
that's not like
but
Castillo.
Castillo's missed in a few games now.
Yeah.
He may be this year's Brett Lowther.
Yeah.
No.
Maybe.
Well,
He's struggling with anything.
Lewis Ward's available.
Lewis Ward is available as
Yes,
of
he is.
today. So
Yeah,
Maybe Lewis Ward will do the
40s and in.
I'm quarterback Glenn
the Kevin Glenn tour.
Kevin Glenn
Yeah,
tour.
yeah.
Yes, maybe he'll do it in 1 year. Maybe he'll
Yeah.
sign with all 9 CFL teams in the 1 year. Oh dear. Okay, I'm going to jump ahead to a game that I don't want to talk about, but we have to. Toronto went into Saskatchewan, but really we're playing a home game, and as the home team won 40-34, and I got to admit, it shocked me. I did not think they would be able to put up those kind of points against the Saskatchewan defense, but full credit to the Argos team and full credit as a player to Kelly. I do not like what he does as a human being very much, but he put on quite a show of talent and athleticism on Friday night there and basically carried that team to the victory. They were on. They took advantage of every mistake that the Riders made. And frankly, I thought they deserved to win. Any thoughts?
Oh, I thought, Toronto, it was a surprising game. Saskatchewan looked flat from the get-go. I don't know if it was a trap game for them. Not like they have a big opponent coming up this week against Ottawa. So it shouldn't have been a trap game. I don't know if they just, but yeah, they looked flat from the get-go, and then they were just never able to catch up. And Kelly kept firing bombs. And as I said the week before, I picked Calgary because of that secondary, and I think that secondary showed up this week against Kelly because he was throwing bombs and they weren't able to get that. I was very surprised in some way. And they made a couple of strange decisions that I thought were like, why did they do that? When they should have gone for it and didn't. Here, just so everyone knows, I'm not taking notes. I'm kind of just doing MJ vibes. I'm just watching the games and doing vibes. So there's some of it that I kind of have to think back on. But was that the one where there was a 3rd and short? They challenged it. Then they didn't get the call and then decided not to kick. It was like, why did you do that? That was bizarre. Why didn't you just go for it then? If you it was very strange. So there was a lot of weird stuff in that game for sure.
That was on the Toronto side. I couldn't understand that challenge.
That was on the
Toronto side. One of the ones that you're never going to get it an overturn because there was you couldn't see anything in the pile.
I feel like that's a rookie head coach mistake, though.
I'll
allow it. I'll allow it when you're a rookie head coach. But...
And the thing is, I would push back a little bit about him throwing bombs all night. He threw a lot of deep stuff, but he didn't complete a lot deep. Where he was beating them was in the shorter and intermediate stuff. He wasn't over 400 yards this week. He was low 300s. Yeah. So he played well and he missed the plays the way he will do. But when he was needed, they kept saying in the broadcast, the off schedule plays, and that was it. When the play broke down, he was pretty good.
He managed to scramble around, and somebody said earlier he's very similar. Oh, it was in an interview with Dave Dickinson I saw today, and he just said, we played Nathan Rourke last week, played Chad Kelly this week, and they're basically the same quarterback. Like that will run around and then launch the ball. So you have to be totally prepared for that at all times. And if you even leave one guy open for a split second, the quarterback will find him. And that's what he seemed to do in that game for sure.
Yeah. They're going to Argo's going to watch it because he got sacked 4 times.
Yes.
That is a lot. Yeah. And honestly, it feels like watching these Argo games that every single player in the league has a personal vendetta against this man. The way that they are going after him is nothing. I have not seen him go after any other quarterback like this year. It's got I was like, whoa, this is like pretty vicious. And they need to shore up that O-line because he's not going to survive if he keeps getting like hit like this.
And most of it with 4-man rush from the Riders. They did blitz some, but it wasn't that much. Mind you, the Toronto D-line did fairly well too. They didn't get as many sacks, but they were giving Harris some problems. And he took one horrendous hit on a obvious miscommunication that they just let, I think it was Chatfield, have a straight run at him with no blockers.
Yeah. Guys, I remember being a little surprised again, and I thought that was just Saskatchewan being flat, but their own line was not as good as it normally. Saskatchewan just didn't look like they were on top of their game, so to speak.
Hicks had that 61-yard rush off the top, and that just took all the wind out of their sails.
And then almost nothing after that. But you're right.
It doesn't, but that was just enough to get like in their heads.
Yeah.
My favorite Harris moment of the night is when his helmet got stuck to the defender's helmet and they couldn't get each other pried apart, and they're both like they couldn't figure out what was going on. And they finally realized that their helmets were stuck together. And I was like, it made my day.
Well, I don't know. It was a Toronto home game, so Saskatchewan had all that travel to do.
Yeah, it's hard.
But,
and Chad Kelly hit the upright.
Yes.
And Stuart Johnson's like, see, this is why we can't have these here.
Yeah. I got a kick out of it because last week for Calgary, McAllister did a missed field goal return for the touchdown against Saskatchewan, and the CFL announcers were see, we're going to lose this most exciting part of the game. Then Kelly puts one off the uprights, and they're all, see, that's why we can't have the goalposts here.
Thanks, Chad.
Yeah.
Ruining it for everyone.
Yeah. But it does make me wonder, and I appreciate you two's input on this. I get a little close as a fan. Should we be worrying much about the Riders' special teams? That's 2 return touchdowns in 2 weeks. They gave up the field goal to McAllister, and they gave up the punt return to Grant.
No, because McAllister just scored one this week, too. It's just McAllister. That one I'm not concerned about because that's just McAllister doing McAllister things. So really, they've given up one that you maybe need to be concerned about.
Yeah, but in both cases, they weren't close to making a tackle on either.
I hear there's a special teams coordinator available for you to hire.
With a hell of a resume.
There's availability. That's not what I would be mostly concerned about.
To be honest with you, I haven't been paying enough attention to notice Saskatchewan special teams and whether they are, looking soft or weaker.
Their returner got hurt, correct? And they put Emilus in, and then he got hurt.
Yeah.
Why would you put Emilus in? That is a terrible decision to put one of your top receivers in for returns. I don't know. I didn't understand that decision. I agree because the broadcasters were like, WTF? And I'm like, yeah, I agree. Like, I don't understand.
Mates basically said it's professional football. People who get hurt, we have to make adjustments. That's what we did.
Yeah, so out of that, though, that's a good point. By the time that game was done, and with the injury updates from I've seen this week, both Emilus and Schaefer Baker were not practicing and took shots. So are they both going to be missing going into this week? That's significant. They're playing Ottawa, thankfully, but still, it's significant. So
is their returner also still injured?
We'll cover all that in the injury reports at the end here. Give people a reason to stay through my blah, blah, blah and actually get some information at the end.
My last point on this game was at the beginning when they were interviewing Keon Schaefer-Baker, and honestly, I'm so in love. I might stop breathing. Keon, can you please share your curly girl hair routine with us because it is beautiful. Honestly, best hair in the CFL.
They said we should
take your helmet off more.
A Head and Shoulders commercial for him in his future.
Oh, just because he had short hair before and he's grown it all out. I didn't even recognize him.
Yeah. Well, I had 2 other things I was going to say on this, and some people might accuse me of being a homer on this because it's a little bit towards the Saskatchewan side, but I got to say, I thought the refs were inconsistent in calling the roughing the passer because there was a play earlier on where Harris was on the ground and one of the Toronto D linemen, frankly, just pancaked him, fell on him, and they didn't call it. And when Saskatchewan challenged it, it still was not a roughing the passer. So I thought, okay, you're not calling this game tight. I get it. That's fine. A little bit further in the game, there's a play where Mike Rose comes in and hits Kelly nowhere near the head, under the arm, frankly, just a split second after he's released the ball. and there's a flag thrown, and it's roughing the passer. And I could not see any reason why. And even the announcers in their sort of waves were questioning that. So it didn't seem terribly consistent in that particular aspect, although overall the officiating was good. And then my last comment is Jackson Ford got the start at safety with Lacumbo out, and you could see the family history in there. There was some Al Ford hits. He was coming downhill and laying the lumber hard. He got at least 3, maybe 4 just real knockdown, smackdown hits on curls and stuff like that. So I like to see that. Nothing dirty, good clean hits. The receivers had to have their head on a swivel. Okay.
Yeah, I thought the last thing I'll say about that game that I just brought back to my mind when you were talking about that was that I thought the broadcast crew was good again. I thought Dusty and
Luke, they worked very well together.
They worked very well, and they were excited, and I thought that was a good job. I did think that was really well done.
Look at you complimenting Dusty.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not usually a biggest fan, but I thought that was a good combination.
Yeah, I thought it was a good combo.
Yeah, I thought they did well.
So. Yeah, I will agree with that. But we'll move on here to Calgary, going into BC, but not the usual place in BC, not BC Place, but the Apple Bowl in Kelowna, the game I got to go see. Yay. Again, not a terrible game, but not the greatest one. The Lions' play was sloppy. I can't say anything else about it. A lot of it was on special teams, but talking about their special teams coordinator showing the door this week, well, they had 2 problems on kickoffs, one of which they barely managed to not lose. The second one, they lost. They had 2 punts that were shanked badly to the right, and the one ended up, I think, with a net of about 4 yards after the penalty was applied. Mm-hmm. And twice on 3rd down, they had the Stamps punting, and the rushers and special teams jumped offside and gave them a first down. And I know at least the first time it led to a touchdown, and I think the second time led to points too. So just sloppy football in a lot of ways for the Lions. The Stamps played well, although I got to say it was more apparent maybe being live there, but some of their back end was not tackling terribly well. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'll give credit. I think it was Johnson for them who made a couple of just fantastic tackles in the open field, all on his own, no support, and cleaned them up. But the rest of that back end were missing tackles they should have made, giving up yards they shouldn't have. That's my overall impressions. Jump on in.
Yeah, well, okay, I'll go. There's a couple things that I know. Stampeders went in with a game plan that was interesting to attack BC special teams right from the get-go, because that initial kickoff was, that was a planned play, that pooch kick, to be able to try to get the ball back, and they almost pulled it off. I mean, that was a great play, and they almost pulled it off. So BC, again, didn't look ready, and their special teams didn't look ready. And throughout the rest of the game, they were just like, from the get-go, they were off. So my question is, has anybody said who the replacement for McDermott is? Like, have they announced? Do they have a special teams coach going forward, or what are they doing? Because they're playing in 3 days. They're playing in 3 days, and I don't know who's coaching special teams yet. That's kind of strange.
See if they have a new coaching staff update on their website.
Yeah. Stampeders side, from my point of view, there's a few real big concerns that I had. I think 2 things. One of them, as you mentioned, old man, their tackling was really soft this game. They let a lot of guys go and let a lot of guys get past them for extra yardage that they didn't have. And Dickinson even said that today after practice. So I was glad to know that it wasn't just me watching it on television, that the coaches saw the same thing. So, yeah, I thought their tackling was really soft. And I'm concerned about Calgary's O-line. I think Calgary's O-line is not nearly as good as it should be, given that it's the same O-line that they had last year and looked really good last year. A year later, with the same guys, they should have continuity and be as good or better. And yet this year, I think they're giving up too much pressure. I think Vernon's under too much pressure, and BC's defensive line looked really good this week compared to the first few weeks where they looked horrible. So that's, I'm not sure if that's BC or if that's Calgary, but either way, Calgary's offensive line, I wasn't impressed with their offense. I haven't been impressed this year with their offensive line. However, on the opposite side of the ball, the D-line looked tremendous. I mean, it just looked like they could do what they want by the time that game was finished. But with all the rotation, with both Ormelade and Hutchins back, and then with the rotations of other guys going in, it was great to watch. And I thought that made a huge difference. Their back end needs to be shored up. They've got some issues there, but the front seven looked really, really solid again, and I'm pretty pleased with that. And that Tevin Jones catch where he bobbled it and then knocked it to himself, that was incredible. That was an incredible catch.
Not finish it because he fell back into the end zone, and then they had their World Cup soccer celebration, which was the best. The best.
Yeah,
and only the Stampeders could have done that. I was waiting because only the Stampeders can pull off a TD celebration such as that.
It's been a while since they've had a full team celebration back in the day. But that was a good one. That was a very good one. And then his interview at the end of the game was pretty funny, where he was like, he didn't really know how to describe it. He wasn't very comfortable on the camera. I thought that was very funny. And finally, I would just like to mention that the score turning out 41-33 gives us a great head start on the season series for the jersey and that means it's $74 after the first game. So don't forget, we're adding up for everybody that's new. I have a lovely vintage G. Roy Simon BC Lions jersey for sale with all proceeds going to CFL Fans Fight Cancer, and it will be costing you the total amount of the total score of all the games between the Stampeders and the Lions, or this year. So after one game, currently riding at $74. And that's my recap of the game.
Good start. Well, just before you say anything, MJ, let me just jump in and say, having seen that Jones catch live and on television did not do it credit. It was unbelievable. It was just spectacular. It was probably 80% orange jerseys in the stands. The Calgary's had a lot of supporters there. There was a lot of red as well. And strangely enough, the third probably best color was Riders green. They're showing up as they do for stuff. But that catch was just amazing. And even the BC fans that were around me in the stands were going, "Oh, wow." So
yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, we have so many options for catch of the year, and it's like week 4.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's up there.
Fantastic. Let's see. They got 4 sacks on Rourke, so that's
and a lot more. And a lot more pressures than that.
A lot more pressures than that. That is very worrisome. They basically shut Butler down. They had no answer. They had no run game going. A few things. I think most of mine are special teams related. I watched BC returner, whatever his guy's, I can't remember his name. He was running into his own players. I saw it twice where he ran into his own player on special, trying to run the ball up. And I was like, oh, God, guys, what are you doing? This is so frustrating. McAllister had a really nice punt return for a touchdown, or 139 yards. And I wasn't sure if you knew that he used to be a Cat. I know you didn't watch the broadcast, old man, but just, it may have been mentioned more than once that he was a former Hamilton Tiger Cat. I'm like, yes, thank you. They all do good when they leave. Thank you for sharing. And you know what? I know Rene Paredes is injured, but man, their rookie got a 57-yard field goal. And it was beautiful. Good, and he just no stress on that kid. That was really well done.
Yeah, they full credit to Rene and the career he's had, but at this point, they wouldn't have been trying that field goal with him.
No.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
The kid's got the leg for sure.
Yep, it does.
And you know what? The turf looked like they were playing on the grass. It looked really good. They did a close up of the TSN shitty moment as they panned in tight on a divot in the field.
Yeah, but it didn't get torn up the way I was afraid it would.
But it wasn't torn up. It looked really good.
There was a few guys sliding around a bit that weren't used to playing in it, but overall, it didn't impact the game. It looked great.
TSN did a great broadcast. We talked about, we were joking that maybe the BC Lions had been out partying a little too hard in Kelowna. They weren't quite game ready. I think they're staying there this week, so I think they're going to be a lot stricter with players.
Yeah.
Because it looked like they had been out having a little too much fun in Kelowna. Not
entirely
quite ready.
Possible. There may have been some...
Well, it is wine country.
It is wine country, as we learned.
There may have been some local young fans interested in entertaining them. It seemed like, yes. Speaking of which, did you catch, because I did, like I said, I did skim through the stuff on the TV. And did you catch the moment this little running joke they have about all the mascots hitting on Kate?
Yes.
I thought it would.
I saw it without paying any attention to it. That's all.
It's not funny. I don't think it's funny, but
Okay.
I'm sure other people think it's hilarious, but I don't think it's funny.
Maybe I shouldn't have, but I have to admit I found it funny. Yeah, they had her and whatever the Lions mascot is. I think they said Roar or something, sitting at one of the party time tables having a glass of wine, and then all of a sudden, a young woman in a Lions jersey comes up and pulls Roar by the shoulder, and she's got a little stuffed baby lion in her arms. She slaps him across the face, and he turns around, and Kate slaps him across the face. And obviously not funny. I'll stop with that now.
This is just anyway, I'm not getting into it.
I got to tell you, MJ, your reaction actually has me thinking maybe I got to rethink that, because if you're feeling that way about it, I missed something. So
is like cheating funny?
No.
Is putting a female broadcaster through like, oh, look at all the mascots want to be your boyfriend. Let's like distill her worth down to like her desirability. Is that funny? Is that a fun little like angle? I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe I'm just, I'm just an unfunny feminist, but I think they can do better and be smarter. There's fun things you can do. Milt is racing a cow.
Yeah.
That's damn people. That's fun and that's funny. This mascot thing has gone like way too far. But you know what? I expect this from the broadcaster who has no problem doing AI slop everywhere too. Like it's a whole rant about my. Honestly, if I were a CFL player, I'd have it in my contract. They're not allowed to make AI slop videos of me because
that stuff is really bad.
It's really bad.
Plain really bad.
And so this Kate stuff is just kind of like AI slop in real time. Like I just feel like that it's like lowest common denominator, and you can be funnier with better material.
Thank you for that, MJ. Seriously, I that was not an angle I saw on it at all, and you're right. I should have seen it that way. So thank you for taking the time to express it.
No, I'm sorry. I don't mean to like you. People are allowed to like find what this funny is funny, but I mean like just there's just.
No, excellent. Like I said, excellent counterpoint. I appreciate that. But I will go on to the rest of the game so that we can go back to chuckling and stuff. Talking about the line play, GT, I got end zone tickets for this one specifically because I wanted to be able to see what was happening. And it's so much easier to see what's going on with the line there. The Lions got more pressure on VA, but they also got lucky. Neither team ran a lot of games. I'll say that off the start. Most of them were going just straight ahead, bull rush, speed rush, stuff like that. There were some stunts and twists, but not a lot. The Lions got at least one sack on VA where they ran a stunt, and the DN came inside and sacked VA. If he hadn't made that hit, if VA was able to spin out of it, the tackle did not get outside for contain. And I saw that repeatedly. When they did run the stunts, they weren't being run terribly well. Calgary ran a couple of twists inside, and I think they got a sack off one. BC, Betts got his second sack in 4 games, but again, they got it by putting him inside, letting him go for, I think it was, they went the B gap between tackle and guard there, but he's not really causing a lot of havoc out of his normal DN spot. So I was not terribly impressed with that. And like I said, I thought the Calgary O-line could have played better, but I think the sack total favored BC in terms of what they should have had. A couple of those sacks could have gone very wrong for them as well. So just for whatever that's worth, that's like I said, that's part of what I like, being able to get in and see from the end zone with it. And I thought maybe that's about it. Yeah. Oh, that's the other thing that was disappointing in this game, the penalties. Calgary had 7 for 78, I think it was, but BC's 10 for 118, and it's just sloppy stuff. The fact that it's not happening in most of the other games, when it does happen, it really stands out to me. Like I said, there wasn't another game that had over 100 yards for any one team, and I think one of them was under 100 total. So.
Well, the refs had to travel to Kelowna too, so I'm glad they had to put some work in and keep busy. Made it worth going.
Yeah. Yeah. maybe the refs are out partying too. Yes.
Everyone's having fun in Kelowna.
Yeah.
Except for the Lions.
Yes. Well, and Calgary obviously had fun, but maybe they saved their partying fun for Saturday night rather than Friday night. Now, we're not saying the Lions went out partying Friday night. We don't know that.
No, you just played like you did.
But it's possible. And they did. They were downtown Friday night, we know, because they were talking about from the panel and on the waterfront down in Kelowna about the Lions being all there. And there was a kickoff concert with Alan Doyle there that they may have been at. So, yeah, who knows? But that was it. They're now 0-3, and Calgary's got their first win. We'll see where it goes from here. The last one seemed like a closer game, or the score was closer than the game ever felt to me. Ottawa 35 at Montreal 37. There was, I thought, some sloppy play on both sides. I do think everyone that's being complimentary of Ottawa about how well their offense suddenly did, and maybe they're putting it together. We need to remember that Montreal's, both their cornerbacks were backups. Both their starting corners were out, and that did hurt them somewhat. Mind you, they did play a little bit sloppy too, and it looked like Alexander got hurt once or twice, and everybody held their breath again. What do you, MJ, you want to start on this one?
I was at a basketball game, and I didn't actually get to watch this game. So I watched a little bit of it, but I have 4 points. My first one is the Montreal defense washed? Because they were number 1 in every category last year. Every single category for defense, they were number 1. And this year they look garbage. Well, like garbage compared to them. Like they're definitely beatable this year, which is interesting. 2, is Alexander hurt because he was limping off the field at the end of the game? Was it like his knee or his ankle? I don't know if there's an injury report for them today. I'm sure he's playing. I'm sure he's playing, but
they're off this week.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, so he's got like a bye week to rest that ankle up. And 3, are we wrong about Mayer?
No.
There was one point where he had more yardage than Alexander in that game. And then 4, Castantonis had a really nice suit for a panel.
Yes. Well, the other thing I'll say with Mayer is he owes an awful lot of credit for that game to his O-line and the extra blockers they were bringing in, because Nolthorpe was bringing the house almost every play for, it felt like, at least a quarter of the game continuously, and they were picking it up and he was getting the passes out. So I wondered about that a little bit, but
I thought it was a tale of two halves, so to speak, because Montreal looked really good in the first half and then kind of let up in the second half, and then just scored a touchdown to win when they needed to in the fourth quarter. And Ottawa looked horrible in the first half. Like, Mayer was terrible. I mean, the long pass he tried to throw, interception on the goal line, killed a drive, took away all the momentum. Welcome to the Jake Mayer experience in the first quarter of the game, right? Just when you need him to throw an interception, he will, So don't worry. He So it was Jake Mayer at his best or worst, however you classify it, in the first half. And in the second half, it looked like Ottawa made some adjustments, and Montreal wasn't ready for Ottawa to make adjustments.
okay.
That second half is the beginning of the turnaround, because they're 3 games in. So maybe they made some adjustments, and maybe they figured it out a little bit, that these are the things we need to do better. So if for all the Ottawa fans, I hope that's the case, but I'm not convinced that's the case. Because it was one half, and as I say, Montreal had a pretty good lead and looked like they were just chill again. And as you said, old man, they had 2 cornerbacks that hadn't played before, so that also helps. You go attack those guys, you're going to make those kind of passes, and kind of receptions, so Mayer can help in the second half. But he was making better decisions, and he was making quicker decisions, which is what he's not good at. So that was a little impressive. It almost looked like the first 2 games he played against Winnipeg, 5 years ago, when everybody thought he was the next greatest thing.
And Lewis wasn't playing. Like, that's one of their top receivers too. So,
well,
Pimpleton had a hell of a game, especially on
Pimpleton had a hell of a game. Yep, he looked like he wanted to win. He was playing like he wanted to win. So
that team's got some fire.
They're still missing some pieces that are there that they're not using to their advantage. And They've got some receivers, they've got some playmakers, and they're just not using them. And even in the second half, they're not using them. So yeah, there's still opportunity for Ottawa, but as we suspected, it's going to take a while before those growing pains, if they have the patience to get through the growing pains. That's my biggest concern, that right now it doesn't look like Dinwiddie has enough patience. So whether he does or not to get through these growing concerns, to get, the first half of the season so the second half looks better, much like Edmonton did last year. Can he do that? Can he do that in Ottawa this year? I don't know that he can.
Do you think MBT's on the depth chart this weekend?
Oh, I'm sure he will be.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I wasn't sure whether he was on the depth chart last weekend. I was like, is he dressed already? And if he isn't, who do they have dressed if Mayer gets injured? Yeah. Like, who's next if Mayer gets injured right now?
Yeah.
That would have been pretty scary. So, yeah.
I don't know. The other thing with it was it didn't look especially windy or bad weather to me, but they both kickers missed a convert, and Maltos missed his first field goal of the year, which is needless to say, unusual, the first one of the year.
That's why I thought he was still maybe a little bit injured, and then they released Lewis Moore today, so clearly he's fine. But
well, that was from a fair distance, and it just
was it. I just saw that. I didn't see the distance. I just saw I got a notification while I was at the basketball game that he had missed a field goal, and I was like, interesting.
It was a long one. It was more the converts that surprised me, because Lothar looks like he's been playing better this year, and that was not a great miss. And then Maltos missing on a convert is just
strange.
Yeah.
Well, the angles at Percival.
Yeah.
It's an optical illusion sometimes.
Yes.
Tricky.
So there's obviously something there.
It's like stadium issue.
Yes. Anyway, that was the week that was. So going ahead, GT, you got some power rankings for us. This should be interesting after this week.
Yeah, I think they are interesting, and I have some controversy right off the top, because I'm sure I'm going to make some people angry, but I still have Saskatchewan in first place.
No.
Oh my.
Yep, I still have Saskatchewan in first place.
Even the Ryder fan is upset at you.
I'm not upset. I'm surprised.
And I have Edmonton in second place. And I think a lot of people would suspect Edmonton should be in first because they're 3-0 versus 2-1 for the Riders. And this might be my own bias. I'm saying it flat out, but I don't think Edmonton has. I think Edmonton kind of still hasn't convinced me that they're winning. They're winning, but they're not winning with confidence. They've won close games, and they could have lost 2 of those 3 games just as easily as won them. So I'm not 100%. They still look like they're scrambling. They're not looking like they have a plan and executing. And Saskatchewan, they came flat against the Argos, but I still think they're a better overall team. So at this point in time, I'm still going to put them first. Edmonton is 3-0, so they're second. Hamilton is coming off of a bye. They shouldn't lose a place going into coming off a bye, but they will because Edmonton is 0. So Hamilton is third. Toronto is fourth because Toronto is now, they're scoring a lot of points. It's pretty tough to stop these guys. Everybody's proved that. Montreal after that, then Calgary, then Winnipeg, then BC, and then Ottawa in last. And BC is the surprise because myself, I picked them, as you know, going back to be 15-3 this year, and now they're 0-3. So that is way out the window.
And so I don't
run the table.
It's not
too late, but I can't see that, and they've got a tough game coming up. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. And we don't need the ladies crying because the story's sad. It's just what it is. It's just what it is. They're in a tough spot, BC.
Yeah. I'm a little surprised, I got to say, and I don't know, even as a fan, if I would have put Saskatchewan over Edmonton, because I get what you're saying, but keep in mind, Saskatchewan had to come back to win both of their games, too. So and come back late. So they've looked good, but they've also had that third quarter lull that has really hurt them. So,
if Edmonton wins this weekend, they'll be absolutely number 1 in the power rank.
Yeah.
No, they will not, because Hamilton will be. Bowling guy's going to find you.
If Bo comes out and crushes again, then you know what? It'll be a tougher decision for sure.
Exactly. Yes.
So.
All righty. So there they are. Anyway, please let us know in the comments here, Blue Sky, whatever, wherever you go, on the podcatchers, or even get in touch with us, on some of the other platforms, Gander or Social. Let us know what you think of GT's power rankings. I'm surprised, but pleasantly so. Before we get to the games, I'll just set up what we do know about the injuries so far. We've got for Toronto at Calgary, they've already basically said who's out and who's available and questionable. With Toronto, it was really only one injury, and that was Dakota Shepley on the O-line, has a back issue. He did not participate, and he's listed as questionable. And with Calgary, defensive back Jaden Grant did not participate with an ankle and is questionable. So they could still both be in the game. We don't know. When we get to the rest of the games, we know where they were on the injury reports, but we don't have any word on whether they think they're expected to play or not. So Saskatchewan has got another laundry list of them, as you said earlier, GT, a bunch of them. Dalkey, who's sort of jack of all trades in the defensive backfield there, and Letcher did not participate. I don't think we'll see either of them in this week. Emlis and Schaefer-Baker did not participate on the first day of practice on Monday. They're both back at limited now. So they're limited. Lacumbo's limited. Olette is still limited. Sad, I never know how to pronounce his name properly, from the D-line is limited. And interestingly enough, a couple of long-term injuries. I mentioned last week, Benoit Marion was listed as limited at the DN spot, and Ryder Varga, from who they got after Toronto released him for the linebacker, is now practicing in a limited capacity. So he may be back not this week, but down the road a bit. On the Ottawa side, nobody did not participate, but Mardner is back practicing and was limited in that after his injury last year. McEwen, Opoko, and Keelan White were also all limited in practice. And then the only other ones we have are Edmonton and BC, because the Hamilton, Winnipeg ones won't start practicing until tomorrow. But Edmonton, Mogensen did not participate. And that could be interesting because Anderson is on the 6-game list now. So they may be starting to get a little bit thin at linebacker if he can't go. And then Boyko, who less of an impact, but Mechie from the back end and Robustelli were also limited. And with BC, TJ Lee and Passant did not participate again. And Hladek, Rene, and Yates from the O-line were all limited. Now, Yates was listed limited all last week, and I think he played anyway. So, but that's where we're at as you're making your game predictions. That's what we know right now. So let's talk about this. Toronto going into Calgary. GT, your team, will let you go first.
It's shaping up to be a shoot, and Calgary's backfield in some disarray. Another injury last week, as you just mentioned. So nobody's been able to stop Kelly yet in 3 weeks, so putting up lots of yardage and lots of points. But I think Shepley's injury hurts Toronto even more. I think Calgary's defensive line can get after him and put pressure on him that he hasn't seen yet. So I'm taking Calgary. I'm not comfortable, but I'm taking Calgary as an up. And I think that's a little bit of an upset. In my opinion, that's a little bit of.
Well, I'll jump in here and say I agree with probably just about everything you said, except from what I've seen in the first few weeks, I do think that it favors Toronto a little bit. I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any means, and it could easily go either way. Maybe I'm still too shell-shocked from what they did to the Riders, which I did not expect at all. But I'll go with the Argos. So MJ, you're the tiebreaker.
Right. So this is Stampede Bowl. Milt's racing a cow.
World's fastest cow.
The world's fastest cow, and he's not going to get a head start like
Enoch did.
Enoch needed last. He actually made a whole video about how Enoch needed a head start, and he does not need a head start. Stampede Bowl's an intangible. I think Flo is going to make Kelly's life a misery. If Kelly wears that belt buckle, no, BA's not going to let Kelly wear that belt. No, he's not giving up that belt buckle. We're going to have another picture of VA in his belt buckle and cowboy boots during Stampede. Forget it. I'm picking Calgary.
Okay. Yeah, and actually the fact that it is the Stampede Bowl, which seemed like a ridiculous thing to me last year, but it's been embraced there, it may be the difference in getting Calgary up over the top. Like I said, it's not a confident pick I'm making, but okay, so the podcast has Calgary. Then we've got Saskatchewan at Ottawa, and Saskatchewan is injured. We don't know receivers will be able to play and which won't, but I still think. Oops, did you lose me again,
Is
or
this
have I been
because
gone?
a red card for talking disparagingly of the Calgary Stampede?
I still don't think that Ottawa's up there where they can beat Saskatchewan yet, so I'm taking the Riders. I guess maybe you get to go second, MJ.
I think, let's see, MLS injury is an issue. What did they play? Toronto made them look silly. Not really, but a little bit. You know what? I'm going for chaos this week. I think there's enough players on the Red Blacks that mean business that they might be able to eke this out.
Okay.
I think it'll be close. But I think the way they are playing, if Mayer can keep it together, there's enough people playing well on that team that they might be able to pull it off.
Yeah, their defense has been playing better, and there's I think 3 of last year's Rough Riders on the defense. So
and Pippleton will probably return a touchdown. It'll be fun. It'll be an entertaining game. Hopefully, it's probably going to be raining.
It's in Ottawa. Yeah. No, I'm taking the Riders. Ottawa is just not good enough. Riders are still a much, much better.
Okay. Yeah. And maybe we'll get MJ to go on this one again. And we'll let you go first on the last two because you live in Edmonton and you're a Hamilton fan. So Edmonton at BC.
Well, so this is interesting because this is week 2 at Touchdown Kelowna, and BC's going to be pretty upset they got shown the door in their big in Touchdown Kelowna. I looked up; they do not have a special teams coordinator named. So is it just like random assistant that's been working with the special teams? I don't know. They still are bad on defense. They are still bad on offense. They are bad at all 3 phases of the game. I have no faith really that they can solve Rankin. There are teams that I think can shut Rankin down. I'm not convinced this BC defense can do that right now with Benavides. I don't think he's going to scheme for that well enough. But it is it's kind of like Sand People. It's a bit of an intangible. They're there all week. They're practicing there all week. But oh my gosh, it's so weird. The Elks are 3-0 and they look good. And I think I'm going to pick the Elks.
Okay. Well, I will go next here, and I will say that the one thing the BC defense has done well is against the run. So there is that, but I think it's just too much of a mess otherwise for them to pull it out. And Edmonton, while they have looked like they're clawing and scratching for everything they can get to the wins, they're winning. So I'll pick the Elk as well. How about you, GT? Unanimous, or are you going against the flow?
No, absolutely unanimous. I agree with you 100%. For everything that I said about Edmonton, they're still winning, and BC is still losing, and so that means Edmonton's going to win.
Okay, full agreement on that one. And the last one, Winnipeg going into Hamilton. Winnipeg has done well in Hamilton in the past couple of years. What do you think, MJ?
Not this year. Bo is not interested in that. And they're coming off the bye. The Bombers, you try and fumble 5 times against the Ticats this year and see how you do. Nah, I'm picking Ticats.
Okay, JT?
Yeah, this is a game that for the first time, I will say this year that I don't think this is even close. I think this is Hamilton in a walk-on. I think this is Hamilton in a lark. This is like a big game for Hamilton, and Winnipeg gets their comeuppance, so to speak. And I think this is where we learned that Winnipeg's not as good as or is the kind of the level we thought they were, which is not that good. And Hamilton is pretty darn good. So I'm picking Hamilton with a big win.
Yes. And see, I've been around the CFL chaos long enough to know that when I expect a big win, it doesn't happen. But I still can't pick Winnipeg. I'm gonna go with Hamilton. It was funny last week. We all the 2 of you picked Winnipeg over Edmonton, and I had Edmonton, and so they won. And I thought, oh, great start to the week. But then I immediately thought, but damn, I never go 4-0. There's something I've missed. What's it going to be? Oh, I hope it's not the Riders. 3-1. Thanks, Riders. And I will also say here, just for anybody that's still with us, MJ's mentioned a couple of times about the Lions staying and practicing here in Kelowna. they're doing that, but they have done, I am so impressed with that organization and what they're doing, as well as practicing. They've got players out in in some events in City Park, or in one of the parks. I'm not sure which one it is. I think it's the downtown City Park, for autograph signings almost every afternoon of the week, a couple of different sessions a day. They're getting out with youth football and girls flag football teams and putting on clinics with them while they're here. They're really increasing their exposure. So great job to the Lions. Thank you for what you've been doing for football in this area. All right, that's about it. What do you think? GT, time to say goodnight? What do you got for us?
You're setting me up now, aren't you?
Give him a red card.
I will say this before I sign off, in that you can always, occasionally, not always, but occasionally you can find me at GT Barnum on blueskies.social.net, I believe is its full thing. I finally figured it. And I had dropped 2 sets of lyrics tonight, just so you know. They're in there. They're from the same song. I double dipped, and you can find them if you can find. And it's Kelowna last week, Kelowna this week, and I'm looking forward to. It's about wine country, so there you go.
Yes. Okay, MJ.
Yeah, I am looking forward to both kinds of football this weekend. Cheering you on, Team Canada. You can find me. I'm running Instagram, CFL Outsiders. Keep your comments coming. We're having fun over there. And yeah, you can find me on Blue Sky Sports and Plants.
All righty. And thank you both for another great show. It's, for whatever it's worth, I really enjoy doing this with the two of you. It honestly is one of the highlights of my week. This is so much fun. So thank you for all that you bring to this. You find me, of course, on Blue Sky, oldman-sac.bluesky.social, and then the CFL Outsiders, a whole bunch of other social media. Gander, look for us. There's a better chance you'll find us than not. And frankly, I'm looking forward to the second time in a week that I can drive a half hour and go to a CFL football game. And nice. It's being such a treat for those of us stuck out here in the hinterlands.
Okay, so before you sign off, old man, I just want to say one more thing, because I forgot to say this in mine, and I just want to say to everybody across, the world listening, Happy Canada Day. It is already that. It is already that here where I am, and we made it through another year. Congratulations to everybody in the country for sticking. And Happy Canada Day. Enjoy, celebrate, be careful with the fireworks. They can be dangerous. They're tons of fun, but they can be dangerous. So be careful. Enjoy yourselves. Have a couple of pops or whatever other libation you do. And and to all the new Canadians that get your citizenship tomorrow in the sign of citizenships, welcome, enjoy, go to a football game.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to say.
Well said. Yes. Welcome and congratulations. We're happy to have you here. So, just in general, I'll do the usual beg at the end. If you haven't subscribed yet, or if you're new to this, subscribe, turn on notifications so you don't miss anything. Please drop a comment. We love hearing what folks have to say. We love that interaction too. Likes are nice on YouTube and social media, and ratings and reviews on the podcatchers, all of that stuff. But basically, just help us grow the CFL Outsiders empire. We're enjoying this and loving the fact that more people are enjoying it. So that's it. Yeah, I've said where I am. I'll be back on Thursday. So I guess tomorrow, when you're hearing this, with the fantasy show for the week. And other than that, I hope you are having a great Canada Day as you listen to this tomorrow, provided you do take it up when it's dropped. And I hope that we all get to see some great football. Good luck to anyone who plays fantasy or pick'em. I guess good luck to people betting, but if you lose money, I don't do that stuff. However, until next week, for MJ and GT, this is Old Man saying, get the hell off my lawn.